Hello and welcome to the Magic is Key Guest Lesson Series Season 1. And today we are talking to a dear friend of mine, Zoko, who currently is living his best life in Malawi. But this wasn't always the case. Zoko used to be a high-powered, successful entrepreneur in England. And in this video, he shares everything about his journey from being close to burnout to living and thriving with magic. If you are an entrepreneur looking for how to live with magic in your work life, this video is for you. Or if you're looking for some wisdom on how to keep going and how to build success, whatever that might mean to you, this video is for you. And if you want to hear more about what a journey into magic can be like, it's incredible, then this video is for you. Now, make sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe and like this video, hit the little bell button below to receive notifications, and leave us a comment below. We love hearing your reflections, your questions, and realizations. Now, enjoy this fantastic guest lesson. Zoko, it's amazing, amazing, amazing to interview you because we have pumped up the sibling, have waited so long to do this. I think it's been over half a year that I've been asking you.
Yeah, that's my fault, isn't it? Yeah, sorry.
And so this is like super, super exciting. I'll share a little bit about your background and then you can supplement that because I think a lot has changed in your life. A lot's going on. We met a couple years ago and you were a completely different person then. So,
yeah.
So today we're gonna meet the Zoko that started out with a background. I have to mention this, by the way, tabletop gaming.
Oh, yeah.
Because I find that part pretty epic. Championship level tabletop gaming, co-founded a software company that then got swallowed up by a unicorn. You were extremely successful at your company. You were like the guy. People respected you and your work greatly. You were in a leadership position and you did not like your life so much. And went through this huge process that I know cost so much bravery. I think a lot of people will relate to this too, where you wanted to leave the company and they kept offering you more money, which is such a conundrum in this world and our culture and society that often values the work you do, the status you hold in that work, and all of which you have loads of, and the money. And you eventually, which I know was, extremely difficult also, not to be underestimated, said no to it all. And now you're in the jungle eating mangoes and loving life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there anything you want to add to this?
No, I'm sure as we go through, we'll get into stuff, but that's the gist of it. You know, started life in software, in the corporate world. You know, I was really fortunate. It went really well for me. But then, it really needed to transition into a life and existence that resonated. That's something that I wanted. And that journey's been, still on it, Pipalu,
And you make music too. I want to mention that as well.
Yeah.
That's a big part of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Right. Well, I don't know anything about your story, and I'm so excited to hear it all. But to start this interview off, we wanted to ask you what your definition of magic is.
Definition of magic. Yeah, sure. So context first. Where I am is it's a journey, and I feel like I'm relatively early on in that journey. So I'm still figuring out things like definitions and to articulate the experience that I have and that I believe in and that I feel. And on the other side of the coin, I'm really enjoying not defining things. I'm really enjoying just getting out of a state of mind I had for so long, which was the very rational, the very processy, the constant analysis, and just getting into feeling. So for me, magic is a state of being. It's something that I am and that I feel. And sometimes I'm really connected, and sometimes I feel like I'm in magic, and sometimes I feel like I am so far away from it, like my spiritual practice is terrible, and I'm not doing the stuff I need to, and and that pendulum swings, as I think it does for all of us. So yeah, magic is a state of being, and to bring that to life, I see magic is that place you can get to where you really listen to yourself and the infinite. That's what I call it, the thing that is beyond thoughts and understanding and reason, that we all feel in different ways and we all have different terms for, but the great unknown that you can tap into when you're in a really grounded and connected state. And when I'm there, I feel like the magic, if you call it that, I do, is just bringing things into being, just living the life I want to, being with others and having a thoughtful and positive impact on their lives. And I know when I'm there because I feel it. Things feel right, and that might be decisions. I've got no idea why I want to do this and not that, but when magic is present, I just know, and it gives me such confidence, and it gives me such validation in the things I do that is beyond a rational analysis of whatever's going on. And I just feel when I'm in that state, when I'm in magic, then magic happens, So yeah, that's my definition.
Oh, I don't think I've ever heard this definition before. I'm really in awe of it. It's a state of being that I enter into.
Yeah. And I think if I could add to that, and this goes into the journey, I feel now, and I know now, that my spiritual practice and being part of magic is so important. And it's important because, as I've just hopefully tried to articulate, when I'm there, I feel like my life is better. The life of those around me is better. It's more authentic, it's more aligned, it's more in tune, and phenomenal things happen. We can talk about the crazy stuff that people don't be like, yeah, shut up. When you're like, this thing happened and I believe I'm going with it, I think it's magic, and someone else is like, oh, you're just weird. You're like, those wonderful moments of serendipity, or those moments when you need something, when you really need something, and then the universe gives it to you. I think those areas as well are super important for me. But yeah, I wanted to share, on subjects of definition, actually, even though I know I'm spiritual now, when I kind of met Pippa Luke, I think I met you for the first time, and it's my brother who took me, right? And he's a very spiritual guy. He's amazing. He's a really talented tarot reader. He's a mystic. He's an incredible guy. And we went on a brother's holiday, and he was like, I want to go to this thing. Can you come to this thing? And I was like, yeah, sure. What is it? And he was like, it's a tarot reading circle and some ceremony stuff. And in my head, I was like, okay, sure. And I think as soon as I got into that, actually, Pippa Luke was the first experience I had of making things that I felt very esoteric and not my thing, and made it accessible. And a big part of that, which is what I've realized when talking about magic and spirituality, is, for me at least, I really felt there was a barrier to it. I felt it wasn't my world, because there was all of these things you needed to know, and it seemed like there's a very rigid structure. And in my head, I almost categorized it as just like, it's kind of like a religion, but you don't have a church and a bishop. You have someone else wearing a pagan outfit or something. It's just in that world of like, I can't access this structure. I can't access this knowledge. And I think one of the things I learned quite early on in my journey is like, it doesn't need to be structured. It doesn't need to be a doctrine or someone selling this is how you do it. You don't need to learn stuff. You don't need to, memorize spells or remember which way north is so you can do compasses. Like, that's cool. People do that and they connect in that way. And I'm not taking anything away from more formal practices. It's phenomenal. And there's some amazing people you've had on the podcast that are incredible. But for me, like with magic, bringing it back to definition, it is such a felt thing. It's something that's much more around the grounding in the present now. And most of my practices, when we talk about things like ceremony maybe later on, come from just a state of being. Half the time I don't even know what I'm going to do. Just like, I need to go and create some space, I need to do some magic, and then we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's all I've got to say on definition. Hopefully that made sense.
That's amazing. And I can totally relate. I mean, I also come from a corporate environment, and making everything accessible is, or more generally accessible, is a huge part of what People Look is doing, or what we're creating. And for me, it was also
Yeah.
Shaman Annabelle, who was very like practical oriented. But I love that. I love your answer. But let's kind of dive into your origins. Is this like the point where you first started on your spiritual journey? Can you share more about that?
Yeah, I think the first place I started actually was it was recognizing, especially in the environment I was in, the corporate environment, is recognizing that my mind and to an extent my existence wasn't my own anymore. It was dominated by a lot of the thoughts and needs of others. So my practice started with meditation, you know, and I think meditation is a phenomenal place for anyone who's exploring spirituality to start, because just being able to create the space between your thoughts and your emotions and who you are, I think it's such a useful, I guess, ability. And it's a muscle. I think of it as a muscle, right? It's like building that. And then from that, I found that the practice of turning up every day and just doing something, doesn't matter what it is, just doing something, that was like the second step, you know. And initially it's very practical. It was trying to deal with overload and stress and things like that, and meditation to stay grounded. And then I found as I created more space and I was working with Pippa, it allowed me to listen. It allowed me to hear, you know, like the quiet voice, the one that you ignore, that's like over here somewhere. Like it allowed me to start tuning into these things and just noticing much more around the world, around who I was, around my relationships and everything. So I guess the next step then was searching for help and for answers and for wisdom. And yeah, it was the tarot. That was the next thing. Pippa actually got me a deck. It's still the only deck I've got, which is the original, it's the Marseille deck. I keep looking around at other decks and they're really cool, and then I don't know which one to buy. I'm just gonna not buy any. So I had the Marseille deck, and initially it was actually Pippa doing readings. And you know, the first readings that I had, it was like the two cards I remember out of three. One was the Fool and one was the Hanged Man. You know, and this was the start of like the transition. So I was like, okay, cool. We've got the first card in this tarot journey. So started doing, working with tarot, and that's something I'd love to talk about a bit more later, maybe. Because that's been a really cool part of my journey. So tarot, and really what tarot did for me is kind of give me an entry point to bring literally images and to bring some meaning into what I was feeling and what was coming up, you know, through meditation and through practice. So it's like, you'd turn a tarot card over and you'd have that initial feeling, you know, that, you know, and sometimes it was like, I really don't like this. And sometimes like, why can't I get a cooler card? Why have I got this one? All those things. But there was so much wisdom in there that gave me kind of a little bit of a guide really to what was going on internally and what I felt, the infinite was communicating. And then my meditation practice started evolving, and it became much more around, I guess, like a visionary type of meditation, you know, really grounding, becoming the world tree, like rooting, you know, connecting to earth, you know, connecting to sky. And then from there, I just started building this relationship with spirit. So I had a little altar, you know, and it just felt really good. It felt really nice sometimes, like leave something and just, you know, kind of make a coffee. And I think through that, it then started turning into like more in-depth ceremonies. And over that time, and this is actually, you know, some of what I was working towards was a little bit of starting a new chapter. So I went to Peru and I did kind of a 2-week ayahuasca retreat there. And, you know, that was an incredible experience of connecting with the infinite in a really tangible way. I mean, ayahuasca is one of those beautiful gifts, but hey, it's a hell of a ride. So I had that, and then since then, all of these elements have just kind of, you know, they move and they shift, and they're still evolving into what my practice is today, really. And yeah, some days, sometimes bits are stronger, sometimes, you know, my practice is quite weak, you know, and then usually, I just feel like I'm not looking after myself, and then it comes back and I kind of recommit. And yeah, it's this journey. It's like, up and down. But yeah, I think, summarizing that was my journey into it. And it was very organic. It grew at each stage, and each step was something that allowed me to move into the next stage. And along all of that journey, I had Pippa Luke as a teacher. And yeah, we did some amazing stuff that some of the things I still do to this day. I've still got a meditation tape of Pippa Luke with a hang drum. Do you remember that? When you were playing the hang drum and talking about the world tree, and it's beautiful. So yeah, I have these things. So yeah, that was the journey. It was on myself. It was organic. It was step by step, just going by feel, like what's next, alongside having someone I trusted and a teacher in Pippa Luke to help guide as well.
I'm having emotions. And I remember we worked very creatively and flowed a lot in how we approached each meeting that we had. It was very exceptional working with you. Yeah, because you would like do the things and then come back with all that. I would learn from you a lot as well. But I want to highlight something you said earlier, and connected also with your I suppose corporate to jungle transition, which is, you said that when you are in a state of magic, it's also better for everyone else around you. And that's something we highlight a lot, that we don't do this work just for ourselves. That might be the beginning. We might be in a state of overwhelm, or we might be in a state of suffering or having health issues, and whatever it is, something that brings us to spiritual practice or to magic or whatever modality it is we initially seek out, like meditation. And then what we notice along the way is that it's really in service of the world as well that we live in. And I remember your relationships have benefited so much as well from you choosing to live authentically in alignment with yourself, in with an approach to life where entering into a state of magic is a priority. And so if you could share a little bit about how magic was key, no pun plug intended here, but how magic was key to you actually working up the bravery and the inner strength to say no to more money, no to promotions, no to all this worldly stuff, and say, I'm leaving, I'm doing this thing, and I'm going to start a new life. That is my truth. Like, how did that play into each other?
So I think the last word you said, actually, that was probably the key there, is truth, right? So I feel one of the most powerful things with any sort of magic is truth. You get to see things and feel things as they are. And so I think the first step for me with magic, and that could be the more meditative practices and really listening to myself, or it could be asking for help from the infinite, and asking for help to guide. And no matter which way I cut it, tarot, ceremony, meditation, like I just had this building sense of on one hand, I need to change, and this isn't what I want to be doing, and I don't want to be here in 10 years. And actually, all of the rejection of the path I was on. And on the other hand, a real feeling of, this is really hard. I'm really struggling with this. Like I'm good here. I'm successful here. My identity's here. My relationships, my network, everything's here. And I think magic, first of all, helped with helping me see more of what I wanted and less of what I was scared of losing. And then, having the strength to actually say no and be like, I'm kind of leaving. And there was some very powerful moments that were I guess, like ceremony driven, that were, you know, allowed me to imagine futures and actually see and live futures, you know, and have those experiences. And there's also some very real, tangible, you know, worldly moments of connecting with Max, my beautiful wife, and feeling and seeing the distance between us because I wasn't present, and seeing and connecting with things that weren't really natural for me in the corporate world, like excitement and adventure and joy and you know, those things, and being like, actually, yeah, this could be, you know, a phenomenal part of life. So, you know, the magic really helped just constantly bringing back to an alignment, you know, that was both, you know, for me, and also, I guess, helped me become a person that could accept those opportunities, which then fed into all the relationships around me. So it fed into, you know, working with Max and having all of a sudden a shared future. You know, we'd become quite separate, right? And that's something we had a shared future, and we had a shared excitement. And even things like, you know, with me being able to do, and me being able to change, and me trying to change, and it's still happening, it's still hard and messy, and, you know, it's not a finished product, right? But then I found with the relationships around me, you know, it's there. If I can't change, if I can't accept help, if I can't give help, then why do I expect any of my close relationships to do the same? So it's something I'm still working on, and Magic's helping. But it was also a massive part of working with Magic and getting to the state is being able to see and recognize and accept what's going on with the relationships around me. And then with those relationships, you know, have a complete life change where, you know, overnight, my identity, my self-worth, you know, my future career path, my measures of success, everything just changed. And yeah, I remember going traveling, and I had the first person ask me like, "Oh, who are you and what do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, hi. I've got no idea who I am. I've got no idea what to say to this." And it was like a real moment. So yeah. And I think the, you know, magic and relationship has also been something that's changed now, is because I know when I'm in a place where, you know, I have help and I have support and I have my own resources, and ultimately I've been able to deal with, you know, the stuff that I need to deal with, it means that then doesn't come into relationships that I'm part of. You know, I'm not bringing whatever I'm working with into others. And again, not every time, right? Sometimes I do. But yeah, I find like, you know, magic is kind of like this partner that you work with, that's one of your relationships, really helps give you and get you into a place whereby you can positively impact others around you.
It sounds also a bit what you described, that magical practice, ceremony, tarot cards, had a kind of effect of being like a pressure cooker of truth that became so conscious you could no longer ignore it and had to make a change. Yeah. And I think everyone can relate to those times where like you're acting in a way, or you're making decisions, or you're living in a way where you're like, if I really listen to, you know, those the small voices, like, this isn't what I should be doing. I know I'm not being good to myself. I know this isn't, I'm not, whatever it is, right? I know I'm not being the person I want to be. And I think a lot of people live in those states where, you know, it's always like, yeah, you know, it's just busy now. And in a month's time, I'll sort it. When this project's finished, I'll sort it. And I'd lived like that for years, you know, like everything was always, yeah, but I'll deal with this in a bit. And then magic, it can be harsh, you know. Sometimes, you know, either tarot or feelings or ceremony, or, you know, like, yeah, magic can slap you about a bit and make you force things that you don't want to face. But it also brings help and support and love and nurture. It's got everything. It's quite a toolkit, you know. It's like it can show you things, and then you freak out, and it's like, okay, don't worry. We can do this together. Here's everything you need. You're good. All right, calm down. So yeah, it's great. Was there like a key moment that happened where you knew, okay, now I can say no, I'm off?
I think I knew I'd get there. Like, I knew we would change. I kind of had this sense like this isn't going to be the, you know, I'm not just going to brush this off. I think there was probably a few moments where I really knew I was going to get there, and I think, so the key moment was knowing the journey I'm on, the stuff I'm doing, we'll get there. Having that confidence, like we're on the right path. I think that was the key moment. And I think the two parts of that, there was connections with Max, and really believing in the life that we would have together. Really believing in the future, which, by the way, is incredible. We're here in Malawi now. My brother's just come out, to spend some time in a different place. We've got our nephew coming out. So some of you got family members who are spending time, and they're all on their own journey as well, and they're healing and they're doing wonderful things. And this is kind of their space to do that. But yeah, that whole life, imagining that, I think that was a moment that I had with Max, and that also came up a lot in magic, of like knowing and seeing. And it's not just imagining and writing down objectives, or writing down in 5 years I want to be. It was really living it. It was those ceremonies and those moments of really living it. And I think that's one of the things that then gave me the strength and motivation to be like, I want that. Yeah, let's go to that. So it's much more around the confidence to not get there, rather than a moment of clarity. I don't think I was ever in doubt. I just needed help.
Mm-hmm. I would absolutely love to know if you have any advice for people who are maybe stuck in a situation. They know that something needs to change, but they're doing the thing where you said, yeah, I'll fix it later. You kind of made it to the other side. I mean, you are saying it's still a work in progress. It always is. But do you have any advice you could share?
Yeah. What I'd like to share is, I think, just start. Okay, like when you're in any very formal, structured world, we like control and we like clarity and all those things. And I think one of the most important things is actually momentum. So it's like, you don't need to know how you're going to get there. You don't need to know exactly what's going to happen, or you don't need to spend ages planning. Just start today, spending more time with yourself and being to yourself. Okay, so that might be just starting with meditation or journaling, or saying no to the overtime work that I'm sure you've done, and given up the opportunity to spend time with your family or your friends. Just start creating space for yourself on a regular basis, and in that space, fill it with whatever is helping you listen to yourself and feel good. And feel good isn't like a hedonistic thing. Feel good is like when you start living in alignment, it feels great. It feels really, it's like when you do the thing, when you go to the yoga practice that you've been putting off for ages, and you come out, you're like, that was amazing. Actually, yeah, I really tasked myself. So don't wait to have all the answers. Don't try and figure it all out and have a plan. Just start with making space for yourself, listen to yourself. And I think step by step, you will figure it out. Trust you'll figure it out. And I think if you have all of the resources and you have all the skills, you have everything that is making you successful in your current role today, just trust that all you need is a change of perspective that you will find along the way to leverage all of those skills and resources and abilities to live a life you really want to. So, yeah.
And it's incredible how it's worked, because there was a time when I would talk to you and ask you how you are, and it was like, oh, really busy, really stressed. And now it's been quite a long time where every time I talk to you, it's like, how are you doing? Yeah, really great, really great.
Yeah. But if you'd have said, when we started it, if you'd have been like, okay, you're here, where do you want to be? Do like a classic kind of like grow coaching, like, what are your goals? What's the reality? What are the objectives? Do you have it wouldn't work,
No,
you
it
can't.
stays in the head.
Exactly. You can't think your way out of these things. You've kind of got to live your way out of them. And that takes probably a bit more time than we like. And that's okay as well. Like, Vinny, you're asking about advice. Be kind to yourself, like, trust you'll do it, keep getting back on the horse, just keep doing it, But I think if you just start and you start listening to yourself, and then you act on what you hear, little by little, you'll get there. And you'll probably do it in a time frame that is far longer than you'd like, far longer than the 6-week turn yourself around course that's on Instagram that keeps following you about. Forget all that stuff, is bollocks, right? Just live and you'll get there. And then I think when you actually look back and see where have you come from, what have you achieved in a time frame, you'll be pretty amazed at what you can do.
And you really also took the effort, though. I think that's something to,
Yeah.
you would make the altar. You would, when we got on a call, you would often go outside, regardless of the weather. You would just go outside and be in whatever, peaceful or connected surrounding you had available to you. And you, I think you also took a lot of risks in your practice and just showing up to it very consistently with that extra effort.
Yeah, I think everything that I've done in the corporate world, outside the corporate world, spiritual practice, relationships, pretty much everything I've done that's been successful has been based on consistency and momentum. I think those two things, like momentum, I think is one of the most undervalued resources, no matter what context you're in. And I don't know why it's not talked about. Like momentum is incredible, and to get momentum, how do you build it? You just keep doing the thing, whatever it is. And by the way, I don't want anyone who's maybe listening to think like, oh, but you're able to turn up and you're doing the practice. Sometimes it was messy as hell. A lot of the times it was messy as hell. It was like I was finishing emails at like 6:58. I'm on with Pippa Luke at 7 o'clock. I'm like running downstairs, grabbing a laptop and some incense sticks. I was like, head's still thinking about stuff. Like just do it, meditation. It wasn't, I sit down at the same time every morning, and I did. Sometimes it wasn't, that was great. But sometimes it was like, I'm on my Zoom meeting. I just need to do this. I'm going to do the old, sorry, internet, let me reset the router, turn the video off for 10 minutes and just sit down and do 10 minutes of meditation, or just write some intentions for the day. Like, don't think any of this is nice and, refined. It's not. It's messy as hell, and embrace it. It's quite good fun, embrace some of the craziness. That is also something that over time I'm embracing. The craziness and the wildness, like, it's a ride. So I think what you said is true, Pippa Luke, and I always appreciated you sharing that with me, because I felt like I was doing a terrible job and I wasn't doing everything right. I hadn't done my homework. I'd turn and be like, oh, I've got the session, Pippa Luke, and I haven't done 10 things. But I did some of them, and I tried, and I think doing that over and over again is really important.
So sustaining the momentum as well. That's
This isn't like a boot camp. This isn't I need a massive ungodly amount of energy to restart my life. It's not that. It's almost like pouring water, just like slowly taking energy from different parts of your life and pouring it into a place where you need it, right? And it's a very gentle process if you let it be. And you can build a huge amount of energy and resource in this place over time if you take that approach. So and hopefully if you're listening to this and you're in that space of, I want to change, but I can't. It's too hard. Just redefine what changes. It's not everything overnight. It's not a whatever. Just doing something every day is a massive change, and then trust that will lead to whatever other changes you need.
That's really powerful.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
And off he goes. And visualization, you spoke also about visualization and imagination, which is also something like big that we do in a lot of our courses, like when it comes to even figuring out what you desire, how to get what you desire, or how to transform something inside of you. There's so many ways you can visualize. Do you have any visions right now? You don't have to share them, but what are the practices you do that I suppose sustain the momentum of ongoing vision? Because we always change.
Yeah, indeed. So I think visualization, I think for me, it's like very tied to thoughts. And I think it's the magician card in the tarot, right? Like, magic. I say I'm not a really defined structure, guys, so I'm gonna get this wrong. But how I remember it, the first card is, what you think about and what you're focused on is the things that you manifest in this world, right? You bring those things into reality. And I was someone who, a lot of my thoughts and a lot of my visions were very negative. I was really good at catastrophizing, loads of anxiety and all sorts. So to start with, actually, visions became two things. Number one, for me, it was choosing to engage imagination and play, and play is a really powerful thing, like having fun. And that could be guided meditations. It could be drawing, could be plant medicine, whatever it was, like just finding those things that inspired you and allowed you to dream and to play and imagine, which everyone can do. We forget it because we get all serious, but we all can do. And I think the equal part of visualization that I'm still working on today is recognizing when my mind was like playing me the movies and playing me the thoughts that I don't want anymore. They're not helping me anymore. And these are usually like worries and concerns and the what ifs and the catastrophized outcomes of whatever, like recognizing when that's happening and then choosing to rechannel that energy to something else. So I think, a lot of my practice has been both. There's been working on stepping away from those habits and routines. And some people that you taught me on that side was like, those things are really cool. They got you to where you are. Something you used to say a lot, like this way of being, of being scared, of worrying, all of that got me to where I was today and helped me survive to get to here. So it's really valuable. And a lot of work on thanking that part of me. But it's just like, we don't need that anymore. So you can rest now. You can rest now. We're going to play over here where, we imagine and we dream. We play. And so some of the practices I do on that, there's definitely visualization in terms of meditation, plant medicine, just letting myself loose in that. I actually find some magic really happens when you are able to be in a place where you're open to opportunity and you are open to collaboration and you connect genuinely with people. So a lot of the things that are happening here, I don't know where they're going, but they've started just from having a conversation. And then some good ideas have come up. And then you're like, actually, we should do it. We should definitely do it. And my wife, Max, has been massively inspiring with this. We go to a music event and I come back and all of a sudden she's like, we're going to do a music festival on our site. Okay, cool. So visualizations for me, they don't always need to be something that's private. There's kind of, that is like a ritual or ceremony. You can create a vision with anyone. And I think that's what vision is about, right? Especially in leadership, it is sharing a vision, is aligning people to something. So yes, for me, some of the bigger ideas here, that could be like the big coffee farm, the record label, the international tour with some hip hop artists, the trippy ambient set out in the forest, like all these things that, a lot of them have started from just imagining and playing, like in the playground when we were kids, like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And then you're like, yeah. And I guess the magic for me is then having those resources and that presence to be like, yeah, actually, let's just do it. Again, I don't know how, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we're just going to start. And again, it's real messy and it's not planned and it's things go wrong and people get annoyed, but you're like, it's okay, it's fine. Let's figure it out. So visions in summary, like just leaning into those things that come up in ceremony or in practice and really engaging with them, enjoying them, playing with them. Part 2 is recognizing when visions are not ones I want zone, recognizing when it's an anxious mind or a scared mind and stepping away from that. And then the third bit of the visions is really to get yourself to a place where you can engage and collaborate and create visions with other people. Because, those visions, I think, are kind of the most exciting, when you've got community around it, that's when really cool stuff happens.
Well, you spoke about ceremonies and altars and tarot and visioning. Is there something you always do, or do you use all of it, or do you go through phases?
So I think there's definitely phases. The two things that I love doing and I probably do most often, aside from any kind of daily meditation, daily practices like that, like yoga meditation. Number one with tarot, the way I read tarot is, I think, it's just the way I've made. So I will probably read tarot once or twice a month myself, maybe, sometimes a bit longer, sometimes a bit shorter. But I'll have the deck and I will create a space, create that time in that space, and that could be The last time I did this, we got some essential oils and some candles, and the last Left Field album, the Fat Planet album, which is a banging album. So yeah, lots of music, created space, a lot of movement and dancing. And I just had the deck with me for the whole night, and I was just like doing a lot of like breathing and connecting. And over the course of the evening, eventually 3 cards would come to me. Okay, and this sometimes I'm shuffling and one flies out. Sometimes it'd be like I literally sit there and just be in the space and just go by feel. And eventually a card really calls. It really wants to be chosen. You're like, okay, cool, we're going with you. And so just doing as much as you can by feel to eventually get. For me, I always do just 3 cards. And then once I've got the 3, I'll spend time with them. They'll usually sit on the altar for maybe half an hour while like rocking out to whatever music's pumping or whatever meditation I'm doing. And then, when they tell me they're ready, which is again entirely by feel, it's just like, okay, cool, we're good to go now. Spreading them out, making sure they're happy with the orientation, and then just going, like turning them over in whatever way feels right. And I always try and catch that first glimpse or that first reaction to whatever I flip, and be like, gosh, what comes up? Because I think for me, tarot isn't necessarily just, okay, here's the answers. For me, tarot is sometimes more of a mirror. Like it shows you things, and then you have the opportunity to see, okay, how does that feel? Like, what's that telling me? And it could be you have initially a memory that comes up, or a thought, or an emotion, or a feeling, or whatever. And like that for me, I usually know what it's trying to tell me very quickly, and going with that gut feel is kind of what happened. And then those cards, depending on what it wants, to work with, I'll leave out. So I've got like either an altar, or I've got a space on my desk, and I'll just literally leave them out, and they'll be there. And going back to momentum, it's like, I'm not taking that message and then instantly changing whatever it is about me or my world or my relationships. Like it doesn't work like that. But every time I see it, I'll walk past and see and be like, that thing. I need to keep working on that. And then that's some of the tangible visual reminders that you can have in your environment that really help. So I think that's the first kind of ceremonial practice I do quite often. The second one, I've got a temple here. I haven't done this one as much, and it's actually calling. I need to get on this soon. But the second one is I've got a temple out here. There's a big tree. And when I first got to the farm here in Malawi, I sent Pippaluke a video of literally getting I think I was struggling with magic at that point, and I got into the mindset of like, I need to plan and figure out and have everything sorted, and then I'll start. And then I had a call with Pippaluke, and it's like, no, remember, let's just start. So I just got a plank of wood and literally just like dug a hole and banged it in the ground, and then like made a little fire and got some charcoal and just drew some stuff on it. And that was the start of my temple here. And now there are like plants in there, and we've kind of like made some blocks for an altar to leave offerings. I've got some seats, and we've got a little like bamboo wall around it. I'll send you some photos as well. It's a cool place. I found some wood carvings here. Like Africa, the whole continent is amazing for arts and creativity. It's such a creative place. And in Malawi, there's some amazing wood carvers, but very traditional kind of like African images. And I just found in a market once, there's like an old crone carving. It was the most out of place thing I've seen. I was like, okay, I need to have that. So that's in there. So, she's there, and she represents all sorts of things. So I've got this temple, and the ceremony there, and I really enjoy. I look forward to this, and I hope anyone who's you really look forward to and enjoy doing. So for me, I'll take down offerings. Sometimes it's wine and chocolate, or food, or cacao, or water, or whatever. Like whatever just feels right. And I'll run around the kitchen and be like, what do the spirits want today? Maybe some of that. Sometimes it's loads, sometimes it's not a lot. Doesn't matter. I just take down what feels right. Set on the altar. I'll use candles. I'll take a speaker down, put music down, and then like ground and center, just meditate, and then just spend time in that space. Create this magical space, and then just spend time in it and just see what happens. And some of the ceremonies I've had one ceremony where my cat turned up. She's never come to the temple before. She came into the temple. I was like, okay, I guess we're going with you. And then she just took me on a walk around the whole farm for the rest of the evening. You know, it's a full moon, and we were walking around, we were playing, running up trees, done stuff like that. And I got to notice loads of things about the farm that actually really helped with the planning over the next couple of weeks. And we're like, yeah, okay, you know, whatever, there's stuff that happened. I had one ceremony where I was there, and then just had an immediate, like, really tangible feeling that I was about to, like, there's a snake in the temple, and if you get bitten by a mamba here, you're done. You know, that's like the African equivalent of getting hit by a bus. You know, so by a snake. So I stood like stock still. And I just had this massive mortal fear that I'm finished. That I'm gonna take one more step. I'm gonna get bitten, which means I got about 20 minutes to live. So I had this moment of actually going through and kind of making peace with that and deciding like what I needed to do and what I do in those 20 minutes. And as soon as I'd finished that, like, facing mortality thing, and been like, okay, yeah, guess this is it. So I'm gonna go and do what I can in these last 20 minutes. As soon as I got to that acceptance, then the feeling vanished, and it was good. So I've had some really powerful, like, tangible experiences in the temple. Translate this to something that, you know, someone said, well, what is this? Create space, bring whatever you think you need or want into that space, and spend time in it. You know, spend time with your truth, spend time with play, whatever it is, just spend time in that space. And then whatever comes up, whatever things call to you in that time, whatever, you know, get a calling to do or a message to do, follow it. Okay, don't ignore it, don't write it down and say, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. Like, as much as is physically possible, wherever you are at that time, follow what comes up. Because for me, in that ceremonial space, that is the infinite talking to you, and that's what that space is for me. It's just like having that engagement. So yeah, those are the two. That felt really long, sorry.
That was amazing, because you really described the inner and the outer relationship that is so essential to, yeah, what we like to call magic, others would call spirituality, and also the matter-of-fact approach of just being like, okay, what do the spirits want today? Yeah. So alone in that statement, you're highlighting this experience of everything being alive and connected, and you being a part of that. You know, that you were here on this planet. And for us, we know, like, if someone invites us to dinner and offers abundance and a safe space to be in and to talk in and laugh and play and dance or whatever, and you bring something and you show up and you leave your phone aside, you know, it's really, that's what you describe. And I also had this crazy vision when you spoke of Tarot, of you organizing some big party and facilitating what is it, a BYOT party, bring your own tarot, and everyone doing that, bringing their own, like, shuffling, having little corners where you can sit down for a moment and shuffle, dance with your deck, and by the end of the night, everyone's got their 3 cards.
Got the 3 cards. That's a really cool idea. Oh, maybe next full moon. Next moon. It's bringing it back to definition, which is where we started as well. Like, with all of these things, I said definition for me was like being in magic. It's a state of being. And with all of this, there's always a choice. For me, there's a choice of whether or not you go with whatever you feel. You know, there's always doubt. There's always, it's a bit silly, you know, but actually, like, committing to it and just whatever you feel, just believing is true, and knowing is true. I think that's probably the most tangible example of my definition of magic, of being in magic. It's just you do these things, you create these spaces, you're in this place, and then whatever comes up, you believe in and you trust in, and that communication, that engagement, you know, if you trust in it and you're honest with it, then it's honest with you, and you can use that relationship and that connection in so many ways. You know, you can ask for help and feel like you're genuinely receiving it. You know, you can ask for support and know it's there. You can ask to feel love. Whatever comes up, you know, it's your choice to believe it. And I think when you're in magic, when you're in that state, all of that that's your reality. That's what it is. It's real.
Trust. Yeah.
Mm.
I think this is a beautiful spot to come to an end. Is there any final questions or any final wisdom you want to share?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I feel like we got to a natural pause. So yeah, really, really pleased with that. The idea to bring your own tarot deck, maybe that's something we can do on. Is it channel? Is the channel the right word for Magic is the Key? It's a community, right?
It's we've called it a school of effective spiritual practices, but that sounds a bit dry. So we are now exploring what you actually get. Like a Coca-Cola, that's like, ooh, this whole bubbly moment, which is, so what you get is you trust yourself, you live your purpose, and you feel connected. And it's a temple. I would say it's a temple that has a library, it has community, it has live calls, it has active courses, evergreen courses, and a librarian. So if you enter the temple and you're like, oh my God, which book should I start with? Or who should I talk to? And you write the librarian, and the librarian tells you where to start based on what your needs are.
I'm enjoying it loads. Like I found I've been very like in the wilderness on my own with my practice for a while. And I find actually the all of the resources you guys are putting together feel really accessible. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying actually finding a way that doesn't feel like, man, did you bring your white cloak this week? No, get out. So yeah, I'm loving what you guys are doing. And yeah, thank you for creating it. There's not many spaces like this right now. So yeah, it's cool.
Well, thank you for being there. Thank you also for today. And I think we need to mail you a Christmas Tarot deck, because just having one deck, like, I think I got some lying around.
Excellent. Yeah, you fancy, yeah. Oh, that'd be cool. Lovely. Well, thanks again. It's been great speaking with you. Appreciate it.
Thank you too.
Thank you so much.
Until next time.
Thank you so much for watching this guest lesson. If you've had any realizations or questions as a result of watching it, or you just want to share something with us, make sure to comment below. We love hearing from you. Also, hit like and subscribe if you love this channel, and head on over to one of our other epic guest lessons. If you feel the call to experience magic in your everyday life, and you want to find out what it means to live with magic, then head on over to magiciskey.com. Check out our courses and our membership. It might be the right thing for you.